week is the last week, maybe of this term. So we are going to have a winter vacation.
Oh, nice. Um, is that when you're going to Florida?
Yes.
Oh, that's
So
fun.
next Saturday, I'm leaving for that
Nice. It'll
state.
it'll be really warm there. That'll be fun.
Yeah, yeah, warm, hot.
Yeah, it'll probably be hot. It's a little sticky too, like humid.
Humid. Is the humid?
Humid means that the air is sticky. There's a lot of
Oh,
moisture in the air.
yeah. I don't like it. I don't like that kind of weather.
Yeah, but it'll be nice. You'll be by the beach and it'll be nice weather, palm trees. It'll be nice, I'm sure.
Okay. What about Orlando?
What about what?
Orlando.
Orlando's really nice. They have Disney World there. Have you heard of Disney World?
Yeah.
They have one in Shanghai, right? And oh, in Hong Kong too, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be fun. What are your plans?
We're going to NASA
Oh, okay.
and the Harry Potter
Oh,
castle.
oh, so you're going to Universal, right?
Yes.
Universal Studios is what it's called. Yeah. Oh, that's so fun. Um, NASA is really nice. That's in Port Canaveral. Um, Port Canaveral is like by the coast. I've actually been there. I didn't go to the museum though, but I heard it's really nice. I heard it's really awesome.
Wow, wow, wow. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And we can also going to police station, parliament, some government organization in that place. We're going
Oh.
to visit.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure. Maybe in Tallahassee or something.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yes.
Tallahassee is the state capital of Florida.
Oh.
So you know how
Yes.
we have 50 states? So each state has their own capital, and then we have a nation capital, which is Washington D.C.
So besides Washington D.C. for just like Beijing in our country,
Yeah.
it, it's the capital of the country, and in each province it has a provincial city, the capital city.
Yeah, it's just like that here, except they're not provinces. We have states. So we have state capitals rather than provincial capitals.
Oh, yeah,
So the state capital of Florida is Tallahassee.
Tallahassee.
Yeah, Tallahassee. I could write it to you, um, but I've never been there. I think it's nice. Yeah.
Oh, Tallahassee. It's the
All right.
first time.
Oh, it's the first time you heard it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Hopefully it helps you a little bit. But
Okay. I will enjoy it.
all right. Anyway, so our lesson here today is about
Yeah.
fashion. So we've been talking about fashion in New York, particularly. So I hope you're excited. Do you have the PDF?
Yes, I have it.
Got it. Okay, so let's learn about some fashion in New York. So to warm up, what do you think about fashion?
I think it's really hard to define what fashion is because different people have different ideas.
It
And
is.
sometimes I see some fashionable clothes or some design on some magazines. It's really hard for us common people to understand them, I think.
Yeah, fashion is very. You could interpret it very through a lot of different ways. So I definitely agree. It's difficult to define it. Um, do you have a preference in fashion? What kind of fashion do you like?
mm, I don't know. I don't know how to say. It's. I think it's normal. It's not a normal way,
So maybe.
not so outstanding.
Hmm. So me personally, I don't actually know too many fashion terms myself. Um, except for like I know there's casual. Casual is just like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know that word.
right, it's not too dressy. Whereas they also have something called business casual, which is like a little more a little more like a little more fancy. And then obviously you have business attire, which is like probably the fanciest you can go.
Oh,
Um, and then there's also comfortable attire, which is like sweatpants and it's like pajamas. Well, not really pajamas because you wouldn't really wear that out. But all right. Anyways, so we'll probably learn about more of it in the reading though.
okay.
So let's start with the first reading.
Well, mm. New York City is the world's fashion capital. The Big Apple was officially awarded the top global fashion capital. It has a major influence on international fashion trends and is a key center for the fashion industry, events and trade fairs.
Yep.
Paris is second with the honor of the top global fashion capital for hot culture. Is that right? Hot culture.
So
Culture.
it's not English. It's French. It's haute couture. Um, I,
So true.
couture.
Couture.
Couture. Yep.
Couture.
So couture. I'm actually not really sure how we would say it in English because I learned French, so I know the right way to say it in French. I don't really let. I'm gonna look up the English pronunciation how we actually say it.
Wow.
Because I'm telling you the French way.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, haute couture. But you can continue. It means
Like
it means high fashion.
fashion. London went down to third after being the fashion capital in 2011 and 2012.
Yep. And then what are some influences? What are some of the influences in New York City?
Mm, it has a major influence on international fashion trends and is a key center for the fashion industry, events, and trade fairs.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have the vocabulary words.
Yeah.
So the first word is capital. We were just talking about capitals, so I assume you know what it means. It's just a place that's the most important. Um, so we were talking about state capitals, so those are official. However, you could also refer to a capital as like something that's not official, like so in New York State, our state capital is Albany, and Albany is not as big as New York, but you could still say New York is the capital for fashion. You know, um,
Uh,
it's it's not it's not actually like it's not actually the capital, whereas Albany is. But capital is just another way of saying that there's just a lot of it there.
yeah. Yeah, I
So
got it.
so I could be like, oh, Beijing. I could be like, Shanghai is the food capital of the world. It's not really the capital, but it's a way to say it.
Okay.
And then the next one is influence. Um,
Hmm.
I think you know what influence means, right? It's just
Yeah.
the ability to change or affect something. So you could use it as a verb or a noun. So like, fashion influences the streets of New York or something like that.
Yeah.
Or you could say it has a big influence on New York as the noun. um, and then trend is like something that's popular. So have you heard of trend?
Yes.
So like different hairstyles. So you see what she's wearing. You see how her hair is.
What is the holiday?
So I don't know what her hairstyle is called, but that could be a trend. It could be very common for a lot of girls to wear it like that.
So when we talk about hairstyle we can use wear.
So you see the type of hair that she has. You see the
No,
type of hair that she's wearing. Now that was my mistake. You can't really do that.
So we
Um,
can so wear a hat, have some kind of hairstyle, right?
what was that?
I mean, we can use wear to describe we wear a hat. When we talk about hairstyle, we use a hat, right?
Yeah, so she just said like so she has a bob. A bob is like a type of hairstyle. She has this
Oh,
hairstyle. I was wrong. You can't say wear with it. She wears a bob.
it's strange, right?
Maybe you could. Maybe I'll have to look it up. I'm not actually sure.
Okay.
And then the last word we have is key. Key as the noun is actually like a key that you put in your door. Um, but if you use it as an adjective, like she is the key player on the team, she's like the most important.
Yep.
Would you like to try to make a sentence with Well, I think trend was the hardest one, so why don't you try to do that one?
Uh, let me see. Trend. Trend. Hmm. I think trend is difficult.
Trend is a little difficult. So trend is something that is something. Um, do you know what silly bands are? Silly
No,
bands,
so
they're like these little like rubber band things that got really popular. It was a trend.
sleep bands.
Yeah,
But do
but
we put it on the
so silly bands is called is the brand. They were like these super like it was super common for like 2 years or something. It was a trend at the time. People were buying them left and right. I could show you what they look like. They're like these rubber things that like went into a shape. I'll show you.
okay. Sleep.
I don't know if it got common enough to hit China, but I'll show you what they look like.
Okay.
So you wear them on your wrist, and they look like this. They go into like shapes like that.
I don't know what it is. So do we put it on our head, on hair?
No, you would put it on your wrist.
But they're too small.
They're elastic, which means that they're flexible, and you would put it on your you would wear it like a bracelet. So, anyways, this was really common for 1 or 2 years. It was a big trend when I was in middle school. People were buying it left and right. Um,
Oh,
People were also wearing like necklaces, like certain types. That was a trend.
yeah.
Some people get trends on glasses, like they have like the small ones now, I think.
Yes. And just like these years, it's a trend to wear some the glasses with big lens like this.
Right, yeah, that's a trend. Yeah,
Okay.
good job. So a trend is something that's like real. Sometimes they're very temporary. They only last like a few months or years, depending on what it is.
Yeah. So that's why when we buy some clothes, we need to buy some classical styles. Then we can wear it for years.
Yeah. Okay, I have a pronunciation for haute couture.
Haute couture. Haute couture.
So you say
Uh,
it. It's
Haute couture.
haute couture. Yep.
Couture. Okay. Haute couture.
Haute couture. Yep.
Haute couture. It's really, it's not the same for the English words.
Yeah. So the H you wouldn't pronounce. So it's haute couture.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go on to the next reading.
What makes New York City the world's fashion capital? New York is at the forefront of fashion innovation, and it is there that fashion ideas take root and trends are defined. According to NYC EDC,
Mm-hmm.
just read it.
Yep.
New York City is where everything in fashion is happening, and happening first. It is also reported that New York City has more than 5,000 fashion industry showrooms, more than any other city in the world. The city is at the center of fashion, offering unmatchable assets such as a large pool of creative talent, retail space in highly trafficked
Traffic.
tra-
Yep.
locations, and more headquarters of fashion designers and fashion retailers than any other city in the country. It's no wonder it is nicknamed the center of the universe.
Yep. Traffic means like there's a lot of people there. It's like so like in heavy like
Crowd,
a highly trafficked location would be like Times Square. Do you know? Have you heard of that?
yeah, Times Square, I know.
Yeah, it's highly trafficked. There's a lot of people there.
So is the word trafficked has some relation to traffic?
Yep. So highly trafficked is like the adjective of traffic.
Oh, okay.
Um, so like if there's a lot of traffic, you'd be like, oh, there's a lot of it's highly trafficked here. I mean, it sounds funny because you're describing traffic with the same word. So I would say, oh, it's really crowded here instead, but you get the gist.
Okay, okay.
All right, so let's go with the oh, well, first
Question.
there's a comprehension question. So what are some aspects that New York City has?
Um, it has a large pool of creative talent, retail space in highly trafficked locations, and more headquarters of fashion designers and fashion retailers.
Yep. Yep, good job. Um let's go with the first vocabulary word. We have forefront. So forefront is like the noun. It means the position at the front. So they are at the forefront of technology.
Uh,
So they're at the front of technology. Um, and then the next one we have is innovation. Have you heard of that?
yeah.
Like the creation of new things. Like the iPhones were an innovation to technology.
Mm.
Um, take root. Have you heard of that?
No.
Okay, take root means like to start, to begin or grow and develop. So like his love for Disney movies took root in Taiwan. Oh,
No.
in Tarzan.
Tarzan. Tarzan is a place,
So
maybe.
Tarzan's a Disney movie. So he it means that he his love for Disney started once he saw this first movie.
Oh.
More than any other is a expression. So the greatest amount compared to others. Um,
Mm.
so more than any other city in the world. So it's like I want to watch the Spider-Man movie more than any other movie.
So
So
that means you want to watch the Spider-Man most.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, so like New York is the capital of fashion. It has it has more fashion presence. It has mm, it has more than any other city in the world. The
Mm.
I'm having trouble making a sentence for it. It's like mm, has more than a yeah. So oh okay, I have an idea. So New York has a lot of fashion. It actually has more than any other city in the world.
That means it has more fashion than any other places in the world.
Yep.
Okay.
And then now we have asset,
Mhm.
something that's valuable to a person. So like the bank has millions of dollars in assets. So the bank has these potential assets that are really valuable for other people. Um, and then the last one is a pool of something. So remember when we were talking about the traffic? Um,
Yeah.
so there's a pool of tourists right in Times Square. There's a big gathering of tourists right there.
Mhm.
You want to try to make a sentence with some of these?
Mm. Uh,
Let's try the first one, forefront.
Forefront. They are. Look, the children are at the front of Times Square.
It's forefront though.
Ah, so look, the children are at the forefront of Times Square.
So yeah, the jewelry is at the forefront of Times Square. Well, the forefront of the store in Times Square, I would say.
The forefront door, right?
Of the store in Times Square.
Of
So
this.
yeah, so I would make your sentence a little more clearer because if the jewelry was at the forefront of just Times Square, that would mean that
Mhm.
there's like a lot of jewelry like in the front of the streets because Times Square is like a neighborhood. It's like an intersection. So I would say maybe at the store in Times Square.
Ah,
So maybe the jewelry is in the window in the front
okay,
of the store,
okay.
right? So the jewelry is at the forefront of the store, located in the windows. How about that?
Yeah, yeah, it should be in a certain place.
Yeah. So your question, so your example made sense, but Times Square is like an intersection, so it was a little awkward. But I totally get it. You want to try to do another one with forefront?
Mm. Uh,
I have one.
think,
Oh,
okay.
go ahead.
Uh, I think these years, uh, China is at the forefront of building huge bridges.
Yeah, that was really good. Yeah,
Uh,
I think they just build that bridge from Hong Kong to that other place. There's a huge
in, just a month ago,
yeah, that
from
huge built bridge, right?
a really huge bridge on the sea, over the sea, and it connected Hong Kong, Macau, and Zhuhai
Oh
in the
wow.
inner. Uh, so
Wow,
it's
that's
really huge.
crazy. Yeah, Hong Kong is at the forefront of of architecture maybe for
Yeah,
buildings. And then let's try to take root in. Let's try to do that verb.
his love for country music takes root in Country Road, Take Me Home.
Yeah, good job.
I just even one on the screen.
So that is to say that the minute he heard that song, he was like totally into country music.
Yes.
Perfect. All right, let's move on to the next reading.
Okay. New York City's fashion district is located between 5th Avenue and 9th Avenue from 34th to 42nd Streets. It is home to many well-known designers and their warehouses, showrooms, and fabric material suppliers. The neighborhood hosts the New York Fashion Week shows. The shows are held seasonally. Usually, the fall-winter show is held from February 10th to February 18th, and the spring or summer show is held September 7th to September 15th.
Yeah, perfect. And what event is hosted in the fashion district?
The New York Fashion Week.
Yeah, perfect. I'm gonna actually go off on a tangent a little bit. Do you know what a tangent is?
Tension?
Yeah.
Is it nervous? Nerve? Tension.
A tangent. So a tangent has something. So a tangent has two terms. So tangents are in math. I don't know if you know this. So like, have you ever seen a circle and then they have like that line coming from it? It's hard to. So if I go off on a tangent, it means that I'm gonna like talk a little bit, like that's a little off topic.
Oh, it's really hard. I don't understand it.
So if I go off on a tangent, it means that I'm going off the lesson. I'm talking about something else that's vaguely related.
So change the topic?
I'm gonna talk about something right now. I said. All right, so this is what a tangent is in math. So you see how there's a circle? The line is the tangent. It kind of goes off the circle. So
it's a word, right?
What'd you say?
Is it a word about math?
So it derives from math. It takes root in math. So
yeah.
But now we use it in speech too. So if I have a story, my story is my circle. If I go off on a tangent, the line is a little bit related to the story. It still has to do with it. So over here you see that how they're talking about 34th and 42nd Streets. And then they have 5th Avenue and 9th Avenue. I don't know if you're familiar with the map of New York, but they go by the grid system. A grid is like a map. So the avenues in New York is actually it's very easy to navigate there. You know why? It's because of this grid system. I don't know if the Chinese cities have this either, but so basically you have your avenues. So they have 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. So they all go this way, and they're all parallel. So they go from top to bottom, and then the streets they cross. So I'll have up here will be like 1st Street, 2nd Street, 3rd Street, 4th. There's like a lot. There's like 60 of them.
So we call this street and this avenue.
Yeah. So the streets are from east to west, whereas the avenues are from north to south. So it's like so all of New York is like these plus signs. You know, they're all. That's why it's really easy to get to know where you are in New York.
Yes, it's easy to find the ways.
Yeah, and like a lot of the streets don't have names. They're just 1st Street and 2nd Avenue, 31st Street and 4th Avenue.
Oh, it's easy to remember the roads. But in China, we don't have this 1st, 2nd, or blah, blah, blah. We all have names for different roads.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's not like this in Boston, for example. In Boston, it's like kind of an older city, so all their cities are like, they're like all crazy, and it's very easy to get lost there. They're like really narrow, and they go all over, and it's like not like that grid system like New York has.
Yeah. In some cities, China is also like this. It's really hard to find the ways.
Oh, right, yeah. All right, let's move. So I just wanted to bring that up because I thought it was cool, right? Um,
Yeah, thanks.
yeah, no problem. All right, let's go to the comprehension.
Yeah.
So that was my tangent. That was my little story on the side that still has to do somewhat with the story. You got it?
Yes, makes sense.
Okay, let's do the comprehension.
London was the London was the fashion capital in 2012. In 2011 and 2012.
Uh-huh.
So it's the fourth.
So it's actually true. It was the fashion capital in 2012, and then as soon it changed to New York.
Oh. So, but in our passage, we see that in 2011 and 2012. So I think this sentence it lost a piece of information.
Oh, the extra year. Okay, in that case, it would be false. You're right.
Okay, it's really hard. New York has 5,000 fashion showrooms. True.
It's actually false. I'm trying to find where it says that. It actually has more than that.
More than. New York City has the most fashion headquarters and retailers in any other country. True.
True.
New York Fashion District hosts the New York Fashion Show. True.
True.
The fall or winter show is held from September the 7th to September the 15th.
Mm-hmm.
True.
It's
Forced.
It's false. It's held from.
Show, right?
That's the spring summer show. Yeah.
Yes.
How does that make any sense?
Okay. So. Okay. So spring. So September is the summer is the summer in your country, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, by September 21st, that's when it becomes fall or autumn.
So almost the same or around the world, maybe.
So it's the same. So you know where the equator is? So above the equator, it's the same seasons. So China's above the equator, so we have the same seasons. Places below the equator have opposite seasons. So like in Brazil, Australia, they have opposite seasons.
Oh. Okay, next one.
So
Paris is.
So like during you and mine during yours and my summer, Australia is having winter. You see how they're opposite on either side of the equator? The equator is the line that goes right in the middle of the earth. Like that. It's that line, imaginary line. And then every time you get closer to it, it gets hotter, hotter, hotter.
Yeah. And Paris is the top global fashion capital of for haute couture.
And so you don't pronounce the E in haute. It's just haute couture.
Haute couture.
Yep, haute couture. Good job.
Okay, it's true.
It's true, yeah.
New York is the top global fashion capital. True.
True.
New York is not at the forefront of fashion innovation.
False.
New York is nicknamed the center of fashion. True.
That's false, actually.
Which city?
New York is nicknamed center of the universe.
Oh, yeah. So, University.
They like to trick you.
Yes. International fashion trends are influenced by New York City. True.
Yep. Okay, and we're gonna skip the comprehension,
Yep.
the other two, and then
Okay.
we'll move on to the discussion.
Okay.
So the first question: is fashion important, and why? What do you think?
For some people, I think it is important because some people would like to be outstanding among a group of people, and they have their own ways to express fashion, and they want to make themselves different from others. So I
Yeah,
think it's important for them.
yeah,
For
you,
most people, if they don't care about the fashion, they can wear the things they like, and they don't care about fashion. So, um, so sometimes it's important, sometimes it's not.
yeah, you're right. Um,
Uh,
so fashion's important because it, like what you said, it kind of gives them that way to express themselves.
yeah.
Um, and then people don't have there's no judgment. You could wear whatever you want. So, what about number two? What is fashion like in your country?
Uh, for fashion, I think a few years ago, Korea and Japan, the fashion in that two countries, influenced us a lot, especially the young people.
Mm,
Um, and now I think not only these two countries, um, we are also influenced by some other countries, just like in the United States or some country else. And maybe sometimes we also have our own designers, our Chinese designers. They will design some clothes, some clothes that is related to our culture sometimes.
oh right. Yeah. Like in my country, fashion is very international because the United States, we have so many countries that immigrate here. We have so many different nationalities. Um,
Yeah,
One of them is actually they just made headlines in China. Do you know what Dolce Gabbana is?
yeah,
They were in China a couple months ago, I think, and they made like racist comments, I think, and they got a lot of
yeah.
heat. They got a lot
Uh,
of heat from it. What was that?
so they made something not so good and about the Chinese culture, this chopsticks, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I know there was that. We have a lot more better brands than that. I don't personally like them either. um, they're Italian anyway. They're not really American.
Yeah.
But all right. What's number three? What will fashion be like in the future?
Well, it's very hard to say.
Yeah, it's so weird right now.
Um, mm, these years, some some fashionable clothes they are in style of the uh past.
What was that?
Say that in English. Uh, so just go back to the fashion in the past.
Oh, okay.
Maybe in the past this is maybe they are old fashioned, but these years they're coming back. So
So you
I
think
think
that in the future the fashion will be like reversed? It'll be like, oh, they're gonna bring back the historical designs and clothing to the modern century.
not all like that. I'm just talking about one example.
Oh, okay.
Uh, return, vintage,
Oh,
vintage.
vintage. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe this kind of clothes is just it's fashionable in maybe the 1960s, but now it's becoming fashionable again.
Right, yeah.
So so it's really hard to say what fashion will be like in the future,
No,
because
I agree.
maybe in the future, um, the fashion in our ages will be fashionable again for for them, or maybe they will create or design some new styles. That's also
Yeah,
maybe.
that would be cool if they bring back some of the styles from the past. It would also
Yeah.
be cool if they had some futuristic stuff. Like, what if they were wearing like smartphones? Like smartphones were like on there, like it was worked with their fashion cloths, you know?
Yeah, on their clothes.
Like they wore their smartphone on them. It would be weird.
Yes.
All right, and lastly, what kind of fashion or trends interest you or disinterest you? So maybe the vintage one, does that interest you?
Uh, common ones interest me.
Okay, yeah.
It is, yeah, and to wear what is related, has something to do with our personality, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes artists think this is really fashionable, but you know, it's not easy for me to wear something really fashionable
Right, yeah.
that can break the rules. But sometimes I want to try. There should be a certain situation maybe if I can wear them some fashionable clothes.
There should be like regulations like where you should like you should be this fashionable at this time. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It should have a certain situation. For this situation, yeah, I can wear this fashionable clothes, and for this one, no, I don't. I can't wear it.
Like when you're in the school, like how fashionable can you be?
Oh, in school, I can't buy some fashionable clothes because I can't wear them.
Yeah.
uh, for example, in summer, maybe we can wear two um ex- explode explosion. Uh, I don't know how to say.
An explosion. What's the context? Keep on.
So if it is summer, we can wear t-shirts,
Oh, exposing.
wear
Oh, you mean
clothes without sleeves.
you can't wear exposing shirts, right? Exposed means like to show your skin.
Yeah, to show too much of your skin.
Yeah, you can't. So it's a restriction on exposing clothes, right?
Yes, because the students. This is not a proper situation.
Yeah,
It will was the students. Maybe when you give class to them, they just focus on your clothes, but not your class.
right. Yeah,
Yeah. So sometimes when I go to buy some clothes, when I see the beautiful ones, I start, oh no, I just can't look at them, but I can't buy them because I have no situation to wear them.
right. Yeah.
Okay.
That's funny.
Yes. So in America, can teacher wear, for example, in summer, can they wear the the exposing clothes?
Exposing. There's no L. Exposing. Um,
Exposing, yeah.
yeah, exposing. So for the teacher, it doesn't matter as much as the student. The
Mm,
student, it kind of matters more. So the teacher the teacher can, but they have a reputation and they have to show up professional looking. So it wouldn't be like the best idea. However, there's no rules against it. Um,
uh,
I mean, maybe someone will yell at them, but it's not like they have to follow these set guidelines on their fashion. Um, Whereas students, when I was in middle school, they had something called like the fingertip rule. So like when you put your fingertips down, like down to your waist, your
Yeah.
your skirt cannot be like higher than your fingertips.
Ah,
So you know when you put your fingertips down and like your skirt cannot be higher than it.
yes.
Otherwise, they would make you change. Um, I know a lot of schools in America. We have uniforms. I didn't go to a school that had uniforms. Um,
Mm-hmm.
some schools like are very religious, and they won't let you paint your nails. Or some of them it will be like you have to make sure everything's buttons. So I fortunately I didn't go to a tough like a very um rigorous school like that. That didn't. I had a pretty lenient dress code. It was really just the fingertip thing, you know, and dressing up like not with like clothes that like you can't wear clothes that have like gang symbols on it or anything like or
Yeah,
anything like drugs or none of that, you know, like common
yeah,
sense.
yeah. Okay, most the same.
All right, well that ends the lesson, I guess. So I will be sending the survey, um,
Okay.
and then just contact Word Tangle and see when you can schedule the next lesson. Um, and aside from that, do you have any questions about fashion or the lesson or any questions in general?
No.
Okay. Okay, it was nice chatting.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Thank you.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Matt.
Have a good one.
You're
Oh,
a
go ahead.
good teacher.
I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So,
Bye.
okay, bye.